We need an expert on Afghanistan. I mean, we've seen enough of these kind of talking heads and people like that. We need somebody who is deeply involved with the White House, a Trump deep stater, if you will, and especially somebody who can do their video clip in half the time due to certain narcotics giving him the need for speed.
Okay, guys, today we're going to talk...
Jesus Christ, like, the echo of him is even crazy to me. That's hilarious.
Okay, guys, let's talk about this whole thing.
Biden and his abject failure in Afghanistan.
Jesus Christ, dude. You just got on camera. You have to... yeah. I'm sorry. The echo is heavy on with this one. Let's see. How do we... It's not going in there. I don't understand. I think I've got to say it's over in here. Because it was there when I was running it through the other thing. And I don't know why. And I don't know why it's me. Yeah? Stream mix. Maybe there's another thing in this. It's very strange. Hold on. I'm going to try and fix this before we get too far down. Oftentimes I'll speak with an accent when I'm annoyed. And it's much like... I don't know if you know this about me. But I also sing my road rage. I find it's a great way to dissipate the anger and make it more functional. You know what I mean? Like, look at this asshole trying to turn left. It just makes your life that much better, you know. It's not the video volume. It really isn't. I wish it was. I wish it was that clear. But it's not. And let's see. If I do this, maybe there's a double up. I'm going to check it right now. I'm going to see if this will do it. Nope, that was it. Okay, that I could still hear it, even though I click that off. Maybe if I turn this off, and we don't do two things at once. Headphones to there, StreamX output. Okay, try this again. If not, I apologize. I've been trying to work on it, and it's very strange. It might be a software
ability to take responsibility for the actions that he...
I can see that, but I can't. Let's see. Check. Okay, maybe we do it this way. Hold on.
While trying to deflect and blame everyone else. Remember, according to Joe Biden, the buck stops with Joe Biden.
I am President of the United States of America.
It's better,
and
I
the
think.
buck stops with me.
But everyone else was at fault except for Joe Biden.
No, there's obviously problems with the Afghan government. There's obviously problems with the Afghan military. There's obviously problems with the fact we've been in there for 20 fucking years. And there's obviously a problem with your dad creating an arbitrary date in May 1st in a deal with the Taliban that he struck that didn't involve the Afghan government. However, Joe Biden could have decided, well, blow that off. We're not going to do it. You know, we'll just rewrite everything, start from scratch. But he decided all these decisions to finally leave when we did are his. And he takes total blame / credit, which, by the way, it's blame right now. In 3 months, it'll be credit. All but yelling, it's better. Yeah, I know.
And we're going to tell you why that's all a lie. So
cool, let's do it.
Guys, I have to pinch my fingers right now because laced with PCP is really the only way I can, guys.
And he's reading again. He's got this fucking Heritage Foundation notes. He had to scroll the page before he even started.
So watch this, because this is the stuff I'm sure the media won't tell you. Another important note, our foreign policy elite...
Look at his weird, like he's reading this over here. Like there's something written here. It's a great face. It's good. This looks like a happy man. They often tell you that, like a lot of times if you... Technically, people when they're walking around most of the time are tired. All day long, they're a little tired. Even if they're putting on a brave face, even if they're doing stuff, they're a little tired. So when you take a screen grab of somebody in the middle of something, you'll catch them half-eyed because you're catching them in their true state, and their true state is slightly tired. And it's okay. That's what you know. This is something else entirely. He looks like one of those, like, cymbal monkeys. Eep, 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 eep. Yikes. Fucking yikes.
Elites have lied to us for 20 years.
Okay, so if they've lied to us for 20 years, what, are you going to stay in another 20?
They lied to us about the progress they were supposedly making.
Right. And Biden came in, looked at that from a position he didn't necessarily have during the campaign, certainly, or in the years since he left office, and went, fuck this. This turned out to be bullshit. I was given the benefit of the doubt when I was vice president, and I didn't have the ability to act this out. I was not the president. I could advise the president, but I'm not the president. Now I'm the president. Fuck this.
They lied to us about the training of the Afghan security forces.
That might be a gold-plated copy of one of his kids' hands, or some weird QAnon Pizzagate art that he got at one of their pedo gatherings when they try to hide the fact, satire, when they try to hide the fact that that Pizzagate is just satire. Pizzagate has just been a cover for the fact that they're an elite group of pedophiles.
And they totally botched this withdrawal.
Would it have been better May 1st without dealing with the people we're trying to get out?
We should have been out of Afghanistan a decade ago after we...
Yes. Biden administration is too early, but we should have left 10 years ago.
Killed Osama.
Why the fuck didn't your dad do it? Your dad did not do it. He ran on doing it. He didn't do it. He fucking didn't do it. Why didn't he do it? He knows more about Al-Qaeda and ISIS than the generals do. All these generals are overrated.
Osama bin Laden. Joe Biden didn't want
It's his dad's hand, actual size.
greenlight that one. We should have made the point and gotten out. But
Made the point and gotten out. What was your point? Make the point.
Guys, knock it off. We're leaving.
the lesson of Biden's disaster...
Look at him reading again. Dude, this is a fucking... Well, this is double the length of his normal video, but he's already reading a minute into it.
It's not that we should stay in Afghanistan forever. We shouldn't. We should have left decades ago.
With less preparation as quickly as possible.
And most importantly,
We should have left during your dad's administration. Because he ran on getting the fuck out. It was one of the areas where he differed from the entire Republican field. It's why Chris Matthews thought he couldn't be all bad. It's one of the reasons, by the way, that he got to, flank Hillary Clinton on her left, apparently, by being against the wars. And yet, he wasn't able to do it.
nation building doesn't work. But the rich...
Nation building doesn't work, but if we just stayed in a couple of more months...
industrial military complex in America, they made themselves super rich.
Well, if that's all it's about, then Biden has launched the most successful attack against the military-industrial complex in, I don't know, it's my Greg Kelly, 10, 15 years?
These generals
He does look 10 years older every time we see him. It's not good.
got on board seats for continuing a war and risking life and limb. You can
And Biden ended it.
see that they're incompetent. You can see...
Right. And you can see that they're incompetent. We needed to get out 10 years ago. But Biden doing it 3 months after the date your dad set with no preparation to add more time to start prepping people to get them out. All right.
see that they haven't been right about this in 20 years. They had
Well, if they haven't been right about this in 20 years, what the fuck makes anybody think they're right about it now?
20 years to get a plan to get out, and they still screwed it up royally.
He didn't have a plan to get out for 20 years. He's just president now. And what, 7 months into his presidency, we're fucking out. We're leaving. What happened 2 years into your dad's presidency that he couldn't get out? What was it? What was 3 years into your... Oh, right. Elections. Oh, sagging poll numbers. Oh, a recession last February. Oh, COVID.
We spent about $1 trillion
And our soldiers can't even do anything because they'll get the Delta variant if they go out into the country, so...
in Afghanistan, 88 billion training their military to be able to take over. And
it didn't work. What, so another 20 billion? How much, another 3 billion by the end of the year? How much?
Taliban ran them over without a fight in a matter of seconds.
Right, and your dad re-upped that funding every year he was president. If any, look, during the Bush years, they started it, they didn't want to get out. Once Obama got in, there was an argument that there was some nation building that was going on. There was like women's rights. There was some stuff. There was progress being made. They had a couple of elections. They were seeing some progress, but they didn't know how long they could hold it. By the end of the Biden administration, they knew. That's why Biden was against the surge. By the end of the Obama-Biden administration, they knew it was fucked up. Your dad ran on the fact that it was fucked up and we had to get out. Your dad ran on the idea that we could just leave. That it was no longer necessary. That he knew more than anybody. What'd he do the first 6 months he was in office to get us out? Nothing. What'd he do the second year and the third year and the last year, which I love the sound of that.
Okay? That means our generals and national security leadership is not just incompetent, but they've been selling us a bill of goods and a bill of lies for decades.
A bill of goods and a bill of lies. That's what a bill of goods means. I mean, it's a bill for goods that don't exist. Business people know that. Real business people know that.
To enrich themselves, to get further contracts,
But we should stay in.
ultimately get board
But Biden's wrong for getting us out.
seats on these military, type corporate institutions.
Military-type corporate institutions. I could tell you did a lot of reading while your dad was president.
That fund all of this crap and want to keep
You mean think tanks?
it going forever, because that's the gravy train, folks. Your tax dollars into their wallets.
But Biden stopping that gravy train is proof that he's in league with whatever. I don't know what the fuck.
American citizens, our great soldiers, be damned. We don't care as long as we're getting rich. It's
Hey, fuckhead, your dad left them there. Seriously. Which year, what's the difference between this year and last year? Tactically. Like, what was the one last thing that we were going to teach the Afghan military that the linchpin, they needed to do this special, if we'd have just taught them the Vulcan mind pinch, the little shoulder grab that would have knocked them out. I fucking love Columbo too, by the way. If we'd have just taught them that, and that takes about 7 months. You can't learn that overnight. That's not a first level. You gotta walk out of the temple carrying the hot coals in the pot and burn the dragons on your arms before we can teach you the Vulcan pinch. You kidding me?
absolutely sick. It's absolutely sick. They've been lying about the progress forever. Maybe.
Well, apparently, they were able to lie to your dad really easily. But they are not able to lie to Biden really easily. And Robert Gates, the guy that everybody's touting is calling Biden out for everything, is one of those fuckers.
If our generals spent a little less time.
Is that a microwave behind him? I think it's a little TV. He's in somebody's office. The flag and very possibly urn up in the corner. It's just a flag display. And there's a picture of his dad with a dog, or is that Rudy Giuliani and his date? There's a little picture over his shoulder right there. I thought it was a statue right there. I thought it was like a weird dog thing, but it's actually a photo.
Worrying about our pronouns and pushing critical race theory as a way to make for a stronger fighting force and actually did their damn jobs, we would be in less of a disaster than we are now. But that's not what our military does. And that's why China and Russia are watching and laughing.
No, they're not. No, they aren't. They were laughing while we were dumping blood and treasure in the desert, in the case of Russia, like they did, apparently not learning the lesson that they learned. And in the case of China, them thinking they're going to be immune to it and they want their next shot.
Because we're pushing woke policies in critical race theory, right? If the people of Afghanistan...
Look at him reading this shit. Look at his whole, like, woke thing and critical race theory stuff. Look at him looking down to his left right there. Dude, you can't rant. Your dad was president for 4 fucking years. You can't rant on Afghanistan and the details around it for 8 goddamn minutes without notes. Seriously. And again, buy a goddamn teleprompter. They have the ones that hook up to your phone. I've shown you the ads many times. It's $198. It's like half a cameo for you.
And don't want to fight for our country. Why should we risk American lives to fight for them?
Look, did you see him just move the page up? Yeah, I know his voice echoes and then it goes away and then it comes back. It's a digital thing. I will fix it. It's more tinkering. Does that the important thing is that I sound okay? Does my voice sound fine to you? Sound okay? Is that all right? Do I sound fine? And by the way, I also want to thank, we've got a couple of trolls, so I want to thank the trolls for showing up today. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have the reach that we have. Like last year, we were struggling to get just 5,000 subscribers on the YouTube page, and now we cracked 20K, and it's largely thanks to you guys, because the algorithm works in such a way that if people who watch this kind of stuff, like my show, you know, that kind of watch similar things like Pac-Man and TYT and those kind of things, if they find my show, it doesn't necessarily do much. It just kind of circulates it in the thing. But only the trolls break the algorithm and push us out into the further regions of viewership on these sites. So without you, we wouldn't have nearly the reach. And every comment you make tells the algorithm that's on each of these pages that you believe this is worth not just your eyeballs, but your actual attention. It was a show that got you to your keyboard. And by writing on your keyboard and spending that time, that says to them, if an ad is run during this, more than likely you'll hate watch it, but you'll sit through it. Or if they play one below or run a little thing up in the corner or whatever, that guarantees ad rev, that reaction. And so they'll push us out into the algorithm even more. So I really can't thank you enough. I mean, it used to be that trolls really had an emotional effect on people. I mean, they say a mean thing and everybody would just go, oh no, I can't, you cut me to the core. But now it doesn't work. Now, honest to God, no one gets upset anymore. It's kind of adorable, actually. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We really do. As long as you stay away from actual calls for violence or racial or anti-gay or anti-woman epithets. We don't really care what you say. But but thank you for being here. I really do. It really does help us to expand the reach, because the rest of us are here because we want to be. You're here because you have to be, and you have nowhere else to go. You're like an officer and a gentleman crying in the mud. So anyways, and especially the Facebook ones, because you guys actually drive the algorithm more than any other site. It's, as far as the algorithm manipulation goes, trolls on Facebook help you spread more than YouTube trolls help you spread, and Twitch is kind of at the bottom. No offense, Twitch trolls. I mean, we appreciate you being here, but you're easy to shut off, because if we go to a subscriber chat, you just kind of vanish. So it's really easy for most people. They don't have shit like that on except now YouTube's got the members only chat, which I don't do because that's rude. But most providers can do that. So they have the algorithm set up so that like, oh, people are interested in this show. They hate it, but they're interested. And especially, by the way, reminding everybody, give a thumbs up to the show if you like it. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down and tell us that, why in the comment section, because that activity also boosts us in the algorithm as well. So a thumbs down is as good as a thumbs up. It's kind of a beautiful thing. So appreciate that. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it. You too. Trolls are fun. It's adorable. And like I said, 6 years ago, if you were a troll, you could get a hate boner on and enjoy your life. But now it's just, you're just kind of flailing at the internet. It's adorable. But at least you help us. And we salute you. So, all right. Now let's go back to a professional troll.
Okay? And again.
Okay, I'm reading. Okay, and again, I lost my place in what I was reading, and so I looked at the same note, so I've got to say it again.
With that said, it isn't...
And again, with that said, he's still reading. Look at him.
The problem that we're pulling our troops out of Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's not the problem that we're pulling them out. It's that we have no plan. I mean, his dad didn't make a plan for May 1st. They didn't start it last year. the Biden administration came in dealing with a bunch of shit, including the COVID and the border and getting our economy back on track, which they've done. By the way, check out the manufacturing, especially in the auto industry, for the month of July, if you want to give Trump fans a heart palpitation. But they were dealing with stuff here, so it wasn't until they really got into the deep reads of it they realized that Trump had no plan for the May 1st withdrawal. He thought it was a light switch.
It's the competent incompetence of Joe Biden.
The competent incompetence. That's the best kind, really. Somebody who really, because when someone's incompetent, you want them to really know how to be incompetent. You know what I mean? Like his dad. His dad was an incompetence specialist.
And the way our woke generals were doing it. They're
Squirrel in the mist. I try.
the ones responsible for failing to properly implement a withdrawal plan that they had 20 years to get right.
Well, no. I mean, Biden's only been president for 7 months. Your dad had 4 fucking years. He didn't make a plan at all. He made no plan for us to leave. There was none. He had to order Milley to start that process. He never did.
That's why it's so galling
That's why I'm reading this off of a...
to see Joe Biden try to blame Trump and everyone else, right? The buck stops with Joe, except it doesn't. If you listen.
Well, no, because he's recognizing there's some realities and other people cause these problems. But ultimately, he's got a decision to make. Will he pile on the idiocy of those before him or get the fuck out?
To his speech, he blames everyone else instead of taking responsibility for their.
Well, no, he took responsibility for this. He literally said, we thought this might happen. We didn't think it would happen so fast. But, the buck stops with me. I'm making this decision. I don't regret it. We're leaving. We're not going to stop. We're sending in troops to get everybody out, but they're going with everybody else. They leave too.
Their stupid and reckless actions. Trump.
What would you have done differently? I would since you're reading, since you have I guess some sort of bullet point list that the Heritage Foundation gave you?
Warned them not to scrap his plans for withdrawal, but because Joe Biden wanted to take credit for bringing our troops home, they pointlessly and disastrously changed how the withdrawal was implemented. And more importantly...
Oh yeah? What was the change he made, other than giving it a few more months to arrange for the translators to start being moved out?
When, right?
Yeah, when. We had to do it later, because your dad didn't leave a plan behind. He hadn't done any of the work. And Biden took over the presidency January 20th, and there was not enough time.
The differences in the two withdrawal plans. Trump was engaged in the region. He
was engaged in the region.
Created peace in many parts of the region.
He created peace in many parts of the region.
Biden hasn't been engaged at all.
Yeah, he has. And his engagement is, everybody's been lying to us. We've been in this fucking thing for 20 years. Every time they tell me it's going to work out and we just need a little more time, it's bullshit. They've told that to other people. Trump bought it. I'm not buying it. We're getting out. That's engagement.
Joe Biden has been in office for 7 months.
And we're getting out. Your dad was in for 4 fucking years.
Still apparently hasn't even spoken to the Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Yeah, that would have changed everything.
Most important stakeholder in the region.
The most important... Wait a minute. The Prime Minister of Pakistan is the most important stakeholder in the region. So you believe the Afghan government was always bullshit? All 4 years of your dad's presidency?
Trump had conditions based on the withdrawal.
Yeah? What were they?
Joe Biden got rid of those conditions because he wanted to make it his own. So congratulations, Joe. You own this.
What were the conditions? The conditions were that there were no conditions.
By yourself. And he pushed the withdrawal date back. Again, for symbolic reasons. He wanted it to be September 11th, purely for symbolic and political.
No, that's not the date. We were going to be out by then. That wasn't the day the last flights were going to take off. It's probably a week before. By the way, right about now. With the same intelligence assessments your dad got, with the same information, the same bullshit story about 6 more months, 10 more months, all that same stuff your dad was told. And there is no point, by the way, if this had happened during your dad's administration, it would have looked just like this. By the way,
The reason that's a problem.
which is why his dad didn't want to do it. And why he negotiated with the Taliban for ceasefires, because they'd hurt him politically if there was fighting going on in Afghanistan.
Is that you pushed it into the height of the Afghan fighting season. When people aren't doing their farming, they're not doing this, they're not hiding from a rough winter, they're in peak
Yeah, scroll up to peak fighting season.
fighting condition. According to Sean Parnell and some of the heroes that actually risked life and limb over there, there's literally no worse month to pull out of Afghanistan than August. Joe Biden also allowed
Joe Biden.
our weapons and technology to fall into the hands of the Taliban.
Well, no, that the weapons and technology is the Afghan government's. We gave it to them. They didn't use it. All the more reason not to stay there and continue to give them shit.
The same Biden administration that wants to limit your Second Amendment allowed for missiles, military air.
Well, no, it doesn't limit your Second Amendment if people are making straw purchases or selling guns to people who don't legally, like convicts, who don't legally have a right to own a gun. They have lost, when you go to jail, and you have First Amendment rights, and amongst them is free association, right? And when you go to prison, you don't have that anymore. You cannot freely associate with people on the street anymore because you are in a building behind bars. Same thing is true about owning a gun if you're a felon, especially somebody who's murdered or harmed anybody. And if you've been beating your girlfriend and she files a restraining order against you, same kind of thing. If you're a gang member who doesn't have the right to own a gun because you've been arrested multiple times for violent assaults and for some reason the judges keep letting you out, we don't want you to drive over down from Chicago to the St. Louis area and buy a gun from a dude who bought it from a store and just hand it to you. That's illegal. That's the limitation. Has nothing to do with legal gun owners. Don't have this problem at all. None of them. Never will. That rule will never stop a legal gun owner from owning an AR-15, much less a Glock or a shotgun. None, ever.
Aircraft, fully automatic machine guns, and drones to fall into
Yeah, the Taliban are great with drones.
the hands of the Taliban.
And did they come with manuals?
Who even
Because they're gonna have to change the coolant in them pretty regularly in that environment.
if they won't use them, we'll sell them to China, who will reverse engineer it and get our technology for
Yeah, the Chinese haven't figured out how to make a Humvee yet.
pennies on the dollar. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, the Chinese will also start a communications line between the Uyghurs in their country and the Taliban that will lead to mass bloodshed. So this is their problem now.
So, that's only happening because Joe Biden allowed it to happen. He didn't let contractors go and help the Afghan fighting forces with their aircraft or
Didn't let them? They left on their own. They're contractors.
maintenance, so they couldn't get them out of there, and now the Taliban owns it.
Yes, the Taliban has a lot of airplanes. And no pilots. Not even the ones that can take off and can't land.
The biggest disaster of Joe Biden's withdrawal has
If anybody remembers 9/11, the guys involved in it had to come to America to learn how to fly.
been that he gave up Bagram Air Force Base and essentially allowed it to be taken over by the Taliban, right? He did that before, making sure we got all our citizens out of the country safe.
Well, yeah, because we got our citizens out of that area. Why the fuck would we hold on to a series of sand buildings and an airstrip that they don't know how to use and a bunch of rotting gear? Why would we risk our soldiers' lives holding on to that because we're evacuating people 1,000 miles away? 700.
Bagram Air Base should have been the last thing we abandoned in Afghanistan, not one of the first.
So we should have abandoned it in Afghanistan. Well, good. At least we agree on that. It's just a syntax problem.
It's one of only 2 places.
Dude, he's having to read all these fucking details
places you can land a plane in the country. The other being Kabul Airport, which
They don't have any. None of the Taliban doesn't have any fucking pilots.
the Taliban is basically already probably going to get their hands control of if they haven't already. Again, this wasn't something that had to happen in a withdrawal. It happened because Biden and his team didn't know how to execute anything, right? All hubris.
Well, if they didn't know how to execute anything, let's say they went through with the execution, and all the trouble that ensued with it. And that's, it's a difficult decision to go about making. There's a lot of, as Donald Rumsfeld would say, push back harder, Dick Cheney. I think I can get my tongue in there a little further. But a different quote was, there were a lot of unknown unknowns. There's no knowns, known unknowns, unknown knowns, and unknown unknowns. And no, to do run. But dooby-dooby-doo. And but even, those unknown unknowns, you're aware of those. You're in Biden's situation. You go, look, we've been, not only have we found out through an intel assessment that we ourselves requested and got, which apparently Trump never asked for, or never got, or never had the balls or the brains to ask for. But the Biden administration does. We want the real shit. Is this going to work? No, it's not going to work. Have you been being rosy with this picture? Yes, we have. All right, fuck it. We're out. There's a lot of unknowns about this, but we're not going to stay. If you're telling us it's going to fall, you've been telling it's going to work. We don't know what's true. We just got to get the fuck out of there. It's done. It's not our problem anymore. And there are plenty of places where our soldiers and our training will actually help over time, instead of just throwing sand into the wind with our eyes open. So they decided to go through with it. Now they don't, let's say, according to, I'm sorry, whatever your name is, according to this dude, they don't know how to execute it. But they gave it a shot. And by the way, Biden and Obama were both present when Osama bin Laden was executed, but we'll get to that later. They know they don't know all these situations, but they also know that the information they've been getting isn't necessarily true, and there's a lot of debate in this or whatever, and it's time to make a decision. You don't know what the reality is, but you've got to make a decision. That's presidential. That's the situation. Like when I always talk about this, unless you're Trump, every other president has made decisions that just fucking suck. There's two bads, and instead of just going, whatever, which he did a lot, you actually weigh the one that sucks the least, and it's terrible, right? If execution is just the problem here, why at no time, Brian Williams on MSNBC counts the day of the presidency, day 351 of the Trump presidency, whatever. Remember, he does that every day. Why on 351, 352, 420? Hitler's birthday. You'd think that'd have special. 505. One of the 501. I enjoy a pair of 501s now and again. Why on none of those dates did your dad request that review that the Biden administration got that led them to this decision? Why did he never, if it's just about execution and knowing how to make a deal, during his ceasefires, why didn't he execute the removal? 2 years ago. 3 years ago. 30 days into his fucking presidency. If it's just about execution, knowing how to do it. Right. That's right, Pukashe. Because he was fucking golfing. That's why.
All ego, trying to get credit, no brains.
He's going to get credit.
Because
I have a 31-inch waist, but thank you, Rick.
Democrats,
It's technically 30, but I wear them 31s because I like them a little. I don't want them to be too snug.
woke military generals have been focused on everything other than actually the job at hand. Everything other than putting America
This is back to the woke thing.
first.
Well, the thing about putting America first is getting the fuck out of Afghanistan, which your dad didn't do, and no one knows why. I've literally not heard, and I'm surprised that Greg Kelly didn't float some sort of theory. But I don't know why you're not putting it up. Why didn't your dad do it? Why? You know, the only reason, there should be a sentence in there that shows his awareness that his father was president for 4 years, had every opportunity to do this, and did not.
Remember, guys, it wasn't too long ago, it was only about 30 days ago, where Joe Biden said that this wouldn't be Saigon.
There's going to
Right.
be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof of a embassy of the United States from Afghanistan.
Well, guess what, guys? When I see the imagery of what's going on, when I see hundreds trying to scramble onto either, I guess, a C-17, when I see people...
Yeah, but those weren't Americans. Those were refugees. Those are Afghanistan. This isn't our people. This isn't NATO forces. This isn't U.S. journalists. These are people who live there.
falling
By the way, largely, if you look at the picture, military-age men who curiously are not fighting to push back the Taliban.
off of planes because they're hanging on as they're taking off, trying to desperately get out
Leave.
of Afghanistan.
Right. Now, why, let's see. Why would they feel so, like, it was such a shock that we were leaving? We've been saying we were leaving. Oh, it's because your dad for the last 4 years said we're getting out and we didn't get out. And we're getting out and we didn't get out. And we're getting out and we didn't get out.
When I see our
What the
military
fuck does he know about a C-17? He knows he saw it written in his notes.
is gone
And it sounds macho. He likes these giant planes.
before the civilians, they have to then send people back in to try to get them out. You're right, Joe. This isn't Saigon. It's a lot worse than
No, it isn't.
Saigon. Saigon looks like kindergarten compared to what's going on right here in Afghanistan.
Now, that you bring up something good, because you weren't even in kindergarten when Saigon happened, I don't think. But your dad avoided going to Vietnam because of what was the reason again? Is there something wrong with his boner? I forget.
Because of
Something, I don't know. Stormy Daniels said something.
you and your incompetence. Joe, you own this. If you're going to be
He's not
president
watching.
and not just...
He's not watching this. Don, he's not watching this. You're doing the same thing Sean Hannity does. He hasn't watched Hannity's show either. I mean, I know you like to flatter yourself, and I am a little, I understand I'm in a special category because I know for a fact that some folks in the White House have watched a couple of my broadcasts. Hi, guys. And because I make the occasional salient point that seems to differ from the normal thought process, which is helpful, when you're not just having the same reaction that everybody else is having, or you not coming up with the same solution everyone else is coming up with, you have a different take on it, that can be helpful sometimes. Whether you act on it or not, it's good to have the option. That's what I try to do here, is try to provide you with a viewpoint that is a little askew from what you normally see in the debate about stuff, that's a little deeper in places, a little shallower in others, just valuable.
Just take naps and do ice
Brain spurs. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, his dad couldn't go to Vietnam because of brain spurs. It's terrible.
cream photoshops. It's time for you to actually lead. It's
He did. He led. We're getting out.
time for you to actually do something. It's
He actually is doing something. We're leaving. Your dad could have and didn't, and you still haven't figured out why.
time for you to take responsibility for
He did take responsibility.
your actions and not just hope you can be incompetent and have the media do your marketing for you.
No. That's your dad's plan, actually. Thanks for saying the quiet part loud.
Because based on what I'm seeing, even they can't protect you now. Even they can't make you look competent now.
Not so much. Tap the brakes there, Junior. Because I mentioned this before, and I think it's true. By the fall, January at the latest, Guantanamo will be on the table and getting rid of it. And these assholes will be clamoring about, what are you going to bring these terrorists who attacked us on 9/11? Even though they're just people who got scooped up on the battlefield and aren't part of the planning at all. A lot of those folks just get fucking killed. But the people who end up in Guantanamo, a lot of times were the ones you could catch. And if you could catch them, they ain't that important. But you just move them to a regular You know, I mean, if we can put El Chapo in an American fucking jail, we can put one of these guys in. Seriously, like the violence that El Chapo's people are capable of is way higher if they decide to act on it than the people in ISIS, because they have money and organization and business sense and all kinds of stuff. ISIS is and largely the Taliban are just an incel tribe that are just they've found some group that reflects back their own kind of hatreds to themselves. It's not a specialty skill organization.
Disgusting.
Yes, you are. Yeah, you are. I mean, I have nothing against a man in a pink shirt. Don't get me wrong. You're the only person who makes it look kind of just desperate. Also, how do you grow a chin? Grow a chin. How do you grow a beard and make your chin look smaller? You must tell us all.
Keep watching, folks, and make sure
No, why would we watch? What, for what?
that other people see this
Yeah, Biden froze the Taliban's money today. Yeah,
so that they can understand
it sounds like a plan to me.
exactly how much of a disaster this is.
It isn't, but keep whining. And the next video, if you could, just float this around. Maybe, just maybe, you could explain to everybody why, if this was so easy, and it took a baseline level of competence that the Biden administration is not capable of, why your dad didn't do it. What's the answer? I want to hear that. I want to hear that excuse circle. I want to hear you start getting caught up in that. Well, there was look, they told us, right? They told Biden the same thing. And Biden called bullshit and said, pack it up. P.S. Your dad hates you. I don't know why. I think it's mostly him. I don't think you're to blame. Little Donnie Jr., when you were a little toddler, didn't deserve the bullshit he sent your way. When you were in college, when he treated you like shit, where he like punched you or pushed you down or whatever the fuck that was because you wanted to wear a jersey to the game instead of a suit, that bullshit. That's fucked up. Doesn't excuse anything. Honest to God. Folks, if you're 35 years old and you blame your parents for anything, you're an asshole. Get over it. I know that doesn't sound very liberal snowflake, but it's my genuine feeling. So he has no excuses. I mean, he wears it. I mean, that's why he acts the way he does. But he doesn't have to. He chooses to.